No one in my family showed up to my baby shower. Right before I cut the cake, I got a message. We decided to go to your sister's engagement party. Baby showers are boring. You can handle it on your own, my mother said. That day, I decided to change my name and disappeared when they finally found me. I gave them an envelope, and what was inside left them speechless. My name is Owen. I'm 32, a locksmith, the older son who learned to fix things because the men in my family only knew how to break them. I run a mobile van with a dented side door and a toolkit that smells like graphite and coffee. I carry other people's emergencies in a tackle box, spare cylinders, blank keys, a tiny blowtorch that hisses like a bad mood. I'm the one who shows up when doors won't open. I'm also the one who gets taken for granted when I do. At home, my role has always been reliable. Mom called me her rock. Dad called me useful. My sister, Paige, called when her key mysteriously snapped in the lock at 2 a.m. after a bar crawl. I never said no. I drove. I drilled. I replaced. I paid, too, quietly, because I had the steady trade and they had stories about potential. By the time Nora and I were expecting, I thought maybe the math would change. A small baby shower. Nothing fancy. Cupcakes. Paper garlands. A rental space over a pizza place with a view of the alley and the soft hum of the soda fountain. I picked up the cake myself. White, with tiny fondant locks and a gold Baby C. I lined plastic chairs, filled a cooler with seltzer, and kept glancing at the clock like it owed me money. At 2:55 p.m., my phone buzzed. Group chat. Family. Paige, heads up, my engagement party is today at 3. Surprise. Come through if you can. Before I could answer, another text slid in. Mom, we decided to go to your sister's engagement party. Baby showers are boring. You can handle it on your own. I stared at the screen. The cake knife felt heavy. Nora looked at me over the tablecloth she was smoothing. What happened? I could feel the words building, piece by piece, like a lock picking itself. I swallowed. Nothing. I lied. They're not coming. The room hummed with the soda machine. Someone upstairs dragged a chair. I set the plastic knife down and felt something inside me click, a quiet mechanism I'd been winding for years. Okay, I said, more to myself than to anyone. Okay. I opened my van and started unloading the rest of the decorations anyway. Because I still believed if I made it nice enough, they might appear. Because I'd always been the one to show up. Because I hadn't yet accepted that they never would. I grew up in a house where love sounded like logistics. Put your sister first, Mom would say, counting forks at the table. She has more going on. Paige is a comet. Dad liked to tell anyone who'd listen. We just try to keep up. Then he'd glance at me. Owen steady. Salt of the earth. Translation, Paige got celebration, I got chores. When Dad's truck broke down, I learned alternators off YouTube. When the back door stuck, I planed the edge and reset the strike plate. When the landlord forgot to rekey after a break-in, I did it myself and ate the cost, then did the whole building because the neighbors were scared and I had the parts. I started as an apprentice out of high school. I like the clarity. Locks tell the truth. Either the pins line up or they don't. People are messy, eh? They promise to pay you Friday and then hide behind a curtain when you knock. By 26, I had my own van, a stack of invoices, and a knee that reminded me of every cold sidewalk I've knelt on. By 28, I was the one who lent just this once, ed my parents out of 3 emergencies. Dad's credit card minimum, Mom's dental crown, Paige's lost deposit on a venue she never booked. They called it family helping family. I called it quietly opening my wallet because saying no started a war. It wasn't just money. It was time. It was the 2 hours I drove to cut spare keys for Paige's boyfriends because she kept giving the last one his. It was stepping in when Dad accidentally gave his spare to a neighbor who liked to feed the cat and also liked to wander the house. Just bring your kit, Mom would say. You're good at this. You're useful, Dad would add, like a compliment with a handle on it. When Nora came into the picture, things sharpened. Nora is a nurse. She can find a vein the way I can find a sheer line, by listening, by patience, by respect. We met because she locked her keys in her hatchback during a night shift. I popped the door. She laughed with relief, this open, kind sound that felt like a porch light in winter. We started dating. We started saving. We said we'd build slow. I told my family when we got pregnant. We did it over dinner at my parents' place because I wanted it to be simple. Mom was stirring pasta. Dad was calculating who owed what for the trip they were planning. Paige scrolled and smiled at her reflection in the microwave. We're having a baby, I said. Nora squeezed my hand under the table. I saw the future I wanted. Hands, naps, a messy living room floor, me teaching our kid how to feel for a pin setting without forcing it, Nora teaching them how to breathe through pain. Dad looked up like I'd interrupted a meeting. That's great, he said. Responsible timing? Congrats, Mom added, already plating. Oh, Paige, tell them your news. Paige beamed. Mason proposed. We're doing something low-key. I'm thinking an engagement party next month. Or next week. I need everyone to be flexible. Of course, Mom said. We'll make it work. Of course, Dad echoed. Of course. I repeated, like an autopilot. We set a date for the baby shower that didn't touch any of Paige's potential dates. I sent a simple invite. Sunday, 3 p.m., upstairs at Mancini's Pizza. I offered to pay for everything because I didn't want the conversation about budgets to become a performance. The week before the shower, Dad called. Hey, bud, he started, bright like a salesman. Little ask. Your sister's ring needs resizing. You know a jeweler? In Mom's car, the alarm keeps chirping. Bring your tools when you come Sunday. Dad, I said, Sunday is the baby shower. Right, he said. We'll do it after cake. Nora bought a simple blue dress at the thrift store. I polished the van and put a small magnet on the dash that said breathe. We printed a sonogram photo on cheap glossy paper and taped it to a piece of cardboard so it would stand up on the gift table. I filled the cooler with seltzer because I knew Mom would say the punch was too sweet and Dad would complain about no beer. The morning of, it was raining. Good rain. Soft. The kind that makes the streets smell like pennies. At 2:30 p.m., I had 10 chairs lined up and a playlist of old Motown Low in the background. The cupcakes looked ridiculous and perfect. A couple of friends from the firehouse came early because of a shift change and left their gifts on the table. Diapers, wipes, a tiny onesie that said Nap King. Your family's gonna love this, Nora said, touching the little locks on the cake. It looks like you. At 2:45, running late, text started, my cousin, a neighbor who is basically an aunt, my mother with a thumbs up emoji. At 2:55, Paige dropped the engagement party bomb in the family chat. Then Mom's message landed. We decided to go to your sister's engagement party. Baby showers are boring. You can handle it on your own. The room tilted. For a second, I heard the ring of my drill, the squeal of a stripped screw. I heard every just this once I had ever said. Something in me tried to be reasonable. I typed, it's our baby shower. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then Dad sent a photo from a restaurant patio. Paige holding up her hand. Mom crying. A waiter holding a sparkler. Look at our girl. Mom wrote. We'll swing by if we can. Nora's hand found my wrist. Say what you need to say, she whispered. I looked at the table with the fondant locks. At the empty chairs. At my van through the window, rain purling on the hood. I thought about keys and how they're a promise. If you have this, you belong. I put my phone down. People came. Not the ones with my last name. The ones who had watched Nora do chest compressions at 3 a.m. The ones who knew what the inside of my van looked like. They hugged us. They ate pizza. They took photos under the paper garland that kept slipping. We cut the cake when it felt right. I posted one picture. No caption. Just Nora's smile. My hands on the knife. By 6, the room was mostly clean. A single balloon bobbed near the ceiling, caught in the HVAC draft. I loaded our gifts into the van. I threw out the leftover seltzer I'd bought because Dad likes lime. On the drive home, Nora watched the wipers beat a rhythm. What are you thinking, she asked. I thought of cylinders and pins, of all the times I'd filed a key until it fit someone else's door. I thought of the word boring. I thought of a tiny spine on a screen. I'm thinking about changing our locks, I said. She smiled without looking at me. Start with the front door? Then the phone. I nodded. I will. The next morning, Mom called like nothing happened. Sweetie, send photos. And can you pop by tonight? Dad's car alarm. No, I said. Silence. Then a laugh like I was being adorable. Don't be dramatic. We'll do a family dinner. Celebrate Paige. She booked a venue next May. You'll need to help with deposits. You make more than she does. And, Mom, I said steady. You skipped my baby shower. Paige's engagement was a once-in-a-lifetime moment, she said. Baby showers are, you'll have more. Don't make this about money. You made it about money, I said. For years. Excuse me. She snapped into that tone she uses on waiters. I opened my notes app. I had started it that morning, the words arriving like a leak I finally stopped ignoring. I read, January, $400 for Dad's card. March, $650 for your crown. April, $220 for Paige's lost deposit. July, $90 gas money because you said you were short. December, $300 for new lock after you gave the neighbor a spare and he started helping himself to the garage. Why are you keeping score? She demanded. Because you only understand scoreboards, I said. Because yesterday you told me to handle it on my own. There was a muffled exchange, Dad in the background, the clink of plates. He took the phone. Son, let it go. Be a team player. I am a father, I said, and surprised myself. I have to be a team player somewhere I actually belong. Paige entered the chat 5 seconds later, like she could smell attention. OMG, can we not do this? My party was perfect. You should have come. Also, Mason's ring needs resizing. Owen, can you? No, I wrote in the thread. A beat. Then Paige again. Excuse me? No, I repeated. I'm done. I'm changing our locks. I'm changing my name. I'm done lending. Done fixing. Done being useful on command. Mom called again. I let it ring out. Then she texted. You're overreacting. Family sticks together. We need you to be reasonable. I stood at my own front door with a new Schlage cylinder in my hand and felt a stillness I'd never felt. The template marks were muscle memory. 2 screws, old cylinder out, new cylinder in. Reset the pins. Test the key. Smooth, first try. Want me to do the back door? Nora asked from the kitchen. Yeah, I said. And the garage. I filed the paperwork for the name change that week. Not because I was hiding, because a new name felt like a lock I chose. I took my mother's maiden name and my grandfather's first. He taught me how to whittle. He never asked for a receipt. I cleaned my contacts. I archived the family chat. I let the noise drain. The silence wasn't empty. It was habitable. It was a room with light. A month later, a cousin mentioned on Facebook that I'd gone weird. Mom posted a photo of Paige trying on dresses. Dad posted a throwback of me holding a toolbox, captioned, Always our helper. I didn't comment. I worked. I saved. I bought Nora a better rocking chair because her back hurt. I built a little shelf by the door for tiny shoes. Life got smaller and better. Then, 2 weeks before Nora's due date, my phone lit up with a number I hadn't blocked. Hello. I said carefully. Owen, Dad. It's an emergency. I closed my eyes. What happened? Your sister's building got broken into, he said. They took a laptop. We need you to rekey. Tonight. I pictured Paige's front door. The cheap hollow core, kind you can breathe through. I pictured the baby kicks I'd felt under my hand at 3 a.m. No, I said. Call a locksmith. You are a locksmith, he snapped. Exactly, I said and hung up. Word got around the way it does in families that run on group chats and triangulation. Owen's changed. Owen's ungrateful. Owen thinks he's better than us. Fine. Let them write the story they could live with. I was busy writing the one I could. Nora went into labor on a Wednesday morning. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and determination. I held her hand, counted breaths, and felt the world narrow to the smallest, most important door I'd ever help open. When our son cried, I cried, too, messy and loud, the way I should have years ago. We named him Cole. Short, strong. A good name to engrave on a tiny keychain one day. The first night home, a florist knocked. A large arrangement, overstuffed and perfumed, with a card in Mom's cursive. We forgive you. Paige says hi. Nora read it, raised an eyebrow, and set the flowers on the stoop. No poison in the house, she said. I slept in the chair with Cole on my chest and woke to a different knock, the soft double tap of someone who knows you. Mrs. Alvarez from next door held a casserole and a kind smile. I heard the baby, she said. Tell me if you need anything. That's family, I thought. 2 months later, the doorbell rang again. When I opened it, my parents were on the porch, Paige behind them, Mason shifting from foot to foot like he wanted to be anywhere else. They looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I finally stopped standing where they could loom. Mom opened with her usual move. Start talking, never let anyone else steer. We're here because enough is enough. We're moving past your little tantrum. We're ready to forgive you if you apologize to your sister. For what? I asked. For making everything about you, she said. For failing to support her engagement. For embarrassing the family by cutting us off. You were so dramatic, Owen. You skipped my baby shower, I said, and called it boring. She huffed. I apologized for your feelings. Dad cleared his throat. Let's be practical. Your sister's planning a wedding. We need help with deposits. There it was. The real ask. The only one that ever mattered. Paige rolled her eyes. Don't make that face. You make more than me. And Mason's starting out. Be a team player. I'm a father, I said again. It fit better every time I wore it. Babies are cheap, Paige said. Weddings are not. Nora stepped into the doorway, Cole's head tucked under her chin, his tiny hand gripping her shirt. Hi, she said, calm as a lake. We're not funding your wedding. Paige's mouth dropped. Excuse me. We're not your bank, Nora said. We're not your locksmith either. Dad tried his reasonable voice. Owen, stop letting your wife. I held up a hand. Don't finish that sentence. Mom's eyes went to the baby like he was a stray. We'd be returning soon. We will be involved, she announced. It's our grandchild. We'll have a key so we can pop in and help. That's how families work. I smiled, and for the first time in my life around them, it wasn't tight or defensive. It was almost kind. No, I said. You won't have a key. Her eyebrows shot up. We are his family. We're his parents, Nora said. We decide who gets a key. Paige laughed. You really think you can lock us out? I know I can, I said. It's literally my job. Dad stepped forward like he might push past me. It was muscle memory on both sides. Him imposing, me giving way. I didn't move. The air felt different. No. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to leave. I'll text you if we want to set a boundary conversation with a mediator. That's it. Mom scoffed. Mediator? Are you insane? Probably, I said. But at least I'm not bored. They left in a storm of muttering and slammed car doors. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You're a disgrace. Then a second. Return my Tupperware. Then a third from Dad. Your mother is upset. Fix it. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and went back to the couch where Cole was doing that newborn grumble that means almost asleep. I watched his eyelashes tremble. I thought of the boy I had been, standing in hallways waiting to be let in. I promised our son out loud. You will never have to earn a key to your own house. Life kept happening, as it does. Work was good. Word of mouth travels fast when you show up at 2 a.m. and don't price gouge. I started landing commercial jobs, small apartment buildings, a daycare that needed a restricted keyway, a bakery that wanted the safe moved. I trained an apprentice, a kid with quick hands and a quicker grin. On a Tuesday, the family group chat I'd archived lit up with 56 messages in 5 minutes. Curiosity is a habit I'm still trying to break. I peeked. Paige was spiraling. Her venue had double booked. The deposit was non-refundable. Mason's parents weren't stepping up. Mom wrote, breathe. We'll redeposit. Owen, transfer $3,000 to my card. I'll handle the vendor. I didn't answer. An hour later, my doorbell rang again. This time they didn't wait for me to open. They pounded. I took a breath and pressed the intercom. We're not available. You're making us the bad guys, Mom shouted through the speaker. Family helps. You've always helped. I have helped, I said. I've changed locks on your messes for a decade. I've covered bills you forgot, deposits you never meant to keep, favors you treated like a right. I'm done. Paige started crying the way she does, loud and strategic. You hate me. I love you, I said. I just also love myself. Silence. Then footsteps. Then the kind of scream only a mother can make when she doesn't get her way. A sound like a kettle thrown against tile. Nora slipped her hand into mine. You good? I'm tired, I said. Rest, she said. We're home. That night, I printed something I'd been working on. An inventory. Not of what they owed me. Of what I was choosing. The next day, I slid it into an envelope along with one other thing. I sealed it. I put it on the shelf by the door. I didn't know when I'd use it. I just knew I would. They found me, eventually. Not hard. I'm still in the same city. Same van with the dent. Same number for emergency lockouts. Because real emergencies don't care about boundaries and somebody's toddler will always lock themselves in a bathroom at least once. They waited until they needed something big. Of course they did. Grandma's ring. Mom said on the phone, voice trembling like a stage note. Paige lost it. We think the cleaning lady took it. We need you to change the locks. Today. We'll talk after. I don't change locks to punish people, I said. I change locks to keep people safe. Don't be clever, she snapped. Be our son. I am my son's father, I said, and drove over anyway, because a cleaning lady getting blamed for a missing ring set my teeth on edge, and because I needed this conversation to end. Their house looked the same. Fake farmhouse sign. The paint I'd recommended 5 years ago. The front lock I'd installed after Dad left a spare under the doormat like a dare. I set my case down in the entryway. Mom started in immediately. We're glad you came to your senses. It's time to put this ugliness behind us. It never left us, I said. You just didn't look at it. Dad tried to smile. You brought your tools. Good. We'll do a quick rekey, then sort deposits. Your sister's venue is being unreasonable. Paige stood by the stairs, arms crossed, eyes red. You're a monster, she said softly. You abandoned your family. I started mine, I said. That's different. I swapped cylinders. When you've done thousands, your hands know the choreography. I rekeyed the back door. I checked the windows. I walked through the house and replaced the old strike plates with reinforced ones I'd bought myself because they were still using the flimsy ones. Because part of me is always going to fix what I can. When I was done, I zipped my case. Keys? Dad asked, holding out his palm. And a set for us to give the cleaner. No, I said. Only 2 sets. Yours. That's safer. Mom rolled her eyes. Fine. Now, about Paige's wedding. Before we talk, I said, pulling the envelope from my bag. This is for you. Mom eyed it like it might bite. What is it? Open it, I said. She slid a nail under the flap. Inside was a single page, notarized, crisp. On top of it, a small ring of blank brass keys, drilled with a hole but uncut. They caught the light. She read. Her mouth tightened. What is this? She asked. It's my legal name change, I said. And a formal notice of no contact unless initiated by us through email. And those keys are a gift. A gift? Dad scoffed. Blank keys. Yeah, I said. They fit nothing. Like the access you think you're entitled to. Paige let out a laugh that wasn't a laugh. You're dramatic. I'm peaceful, I said, and felt, for once, that it was true. Mom's eyes were shiny, but not with grief, rage, maybe, or the shock of a door that won't open no matter how you jiggle it. You would do this to your mother? I would do this for my son, I said. Dad jabbed a finger at the paper. These rules are ridiculous. They're boundaries, I said. You can cross a state line without noticing. You can't cross this without meaning it. There was a long silence. In it, I could hear Nora's laugh at home, the tiny snuffle Cole makes when he's dreaming. I could hear my own heart slowing down to a pace that didn't hurt. Mom spoke first. So this is it, she said. You slammed the door. No, I said. I set the lock. If you ever want to knock like people who respect the house, we'll consider opening. But I won't live with the door standing open so you can walk in and rearrange the furniture. Dad picked up the blank keys. They clinked in his palm. You're not the only one who can cut keys, he muttered. You're right, I said and smiled. But you'll need permission to cut mine. I turned to go. Mom called after me, last weapon ready. When he's older, your son will want grandparents. He'll blame you. Maybe, I said. But he won't ever blame me for teaching him how to be safe. In the driveway, I sat in the van a minute and let it all land. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. Release. The envelope had been heavy, living on our shelf like a fire extinguisher. I'd finally used it, not to burn down a bridge, but to mark an exit. On the way home, a call came in. Unknown number, local. I answered. Hi, a woman said. I cleaned for your parents. They told me I took a ring. I didn't. I found it this morning in the laundry room. I wanted you to know. I believe you, I said. Thank you for telling me. You changed the locks, she said. Good. At a red light. I looked at the blank key on my dash, the one I keep as a reminder. The cut is the identity. The blank is the possibility. For most of my life, my family did the cutting for me. They filed me down to useful, to steady, to boring. Today, I kept the brass hole until I decided what to make of it. When I walked in, Nora was on the floor, building a tiny tower of soft blocks. Cole was waving his fists, unimpressed by gravity. Home smelled like coffee and laundry and something sweet Nora baked because she had 10 minutes and a mood. How'd it go, she asked. I held up the empty envelope. They're speechless, I said. Finally, she said, and patted the spot next to her. Come sit. I did. I handed Cole a safe, plastic play key. He gummed it and squealed, proud of himself for no reason but being here. Later, when the house was quiet, I wrote this down because I wanted a record, not of the money or the injuries, but of the moment I set the lock and turned the key. The moral is plain, and it fits on a tag I could hang on any ring in my van. You don't owe access to people who call your joy boring. I used to open every door I was told to. Now I open the ones I choose, and the ones that lead home.